TubeClockDB. Today we have a gadget that has a little bit of a history to it. This is the 4-letter word machine. It's sold by Jeff Thomas. It's a collaboration between he and Pete Hand, and the case has been designed by Jordan Grau. Now, a guy by the name of Ray Wiesling is generally credited with inventing the 4-letter word machine. He started selling these as kits, but apparently he wasn't delivering all of them. And so a couple people were burned, or apparently a lot of people were burned, Jeff Thomas being one and Pete Hand being another. Pete had actually purchased one of these to be sold as a gift, or excuse me, to be given away as a gift. And when it became clear that he wouldn't be receiving one, he actually went out and engineered his own. He's got actually engineered two versions, a B7971 version and a VFD version, which I'll post a video of. In the last year or so, Jeff Thomas decided that he wanted to revive these and start engineering his own. So he took Pete's original design, tweaked it, added things like GPS time base, came up with a more refined design, and this is the final product. So let's take a closer look at it. And here's the size comparison everyone's waiting for. Here's a can of Coke. This is a sizable device. Each one of these tubes is a little bit smaller than a can of Coke, maybe a little bit bigger than a can of Red Bull. But the point is, if it sits on your desk, it's going to take up a little bit of space and you'll be able to read it from across the room. Let's get this out of the way here. Now, if you're not familiar with what a 4-letter word machine is, it's pretty self-explanatory. It displays random 4-letter words. It'll display some words, it'll display some acronyms, and occasionally it will swear at you. Now you can change the frequency of the obscenities. Right now this has settings of swear like a nun, which is never, a trooper, which is fairly frequently, an engineer, which is occasionally, and a gentleman, which is when it's appropriate. Apparently there's a Tourette's mode being developed too, and I think you'll probably be able to figure out what that does on your own. This device itself just alternates between showing a couple words and then displaying the time. I have it displaying it in 24-hour mode right now, but you can have it switch to 12-hour mode. It doesn't have daylight savings or things like that. That's up to you to adjust it in the back, but there's two buttons. It's pretty straightforward, and having these alphanumeric displays definitely makes operating the clock a little bit easier. Let's take a closer look at the menu structure. Right now, great word, let's hold down the menu button. See, we're in 24-hour mode. We can choose between 12 or 24. We set the hour to 16:04 p.m. in this case. 13 minutes, yep, that's right. Brightness is maximum right now at 8. You can see some of the other options. Press it again, exit back out to the menu. Displays the time. It's going to start displaying some words. Now, just a note on the time. When you plug in the Nixicron, for example, once it catches a GPS signal, it displays the time, and you have to set the daylight savings options and the time zone. You don't do that with this. Instead, you just set the time yourself, and this little GPS receiver, let's get that in the shot, acts as a frequency reference. So you know the clock won't drift. It actually is a little bit easier to set than the Nixicron because of that, but just so you know, when you plug it in, don't expect it to automatically start displaying the time. Here's the back of the device. Bet you didn't guess that. Here's where the GPS connects. DC input, menu and set. Menu is what I was using in the previous scene to go through different menu options, and set is what I was actually using to adjust them. And we've got a couple of dip switches here. And these do things like they adjust how the word is displayed. What kind of animation effects, how long the word is displayed for, and rudeness control. So you can have it, completely disable all the obscenities. Let's say your parents are coming over or something like that. Or you can have it display, like a state trooper or maybe Tourette's mode when that shows up when your friends are coming over. But ultimately, these aren't things that you're going to be adjusting on a regular basis. You set it once, you leave it on your desk, and everyone who comes by will definitely be entertained at the very random words that it happens to throw at them. So, next up, let's do a walkthrough of the device. You buy this device because you want it to display random 4-letter words, but I don't want to overlook the actual form of it too. The design of this here is really top-notch and deserves a little credit too. This is the front, one side, the other side, and the back. But what I really want to get to is the underside. So let's try and be gentle here. I really like that this uses a clear piece of plastic at the bottom so you can see all the detail. I was actually surprised at how few components there are. I like the attention to detail, things like that it's a red PCB. I think it looks really sharp in here. It's very clearly a Jordan Grau design. You can see from the sandwiched layers of plastic. Maybe that's good focus over here a little bit. But this is a really sharp design. It looks really nice. Certainly everyone is drawn to the words and what it's actually displaying, but I like the fact that you can see the components, that you can really see how this device works. It's got a very, very sharp looking case here, and I think, in terms of actual enclosures and things like that, this has got to be one of my favorites. This is a really cool, clean design. When I first became interested in Nixie clocks, Jeff's website's one of the first that I actually read top to bottom. In fact, the Nixie Crown was the first Nixie clock that I purchased. I followed his advice. He had a warning on his website called A Nixie Gone Bad about purchasing from Ray, and so even though I really wanted a 4-letter word machine, I abstained from buying one. The fact that you can go back to Jeff's website and you can buy one of these with nice clean tubes and nice solid enclosure, I think is amazing. It's almost a piece of Nixie history that I don't think you'd be able to find for much longer. The fact is these tubes cost $80 to $100 a piece on eBay. They're hard to find. You have to buy them from sellers that you don't necessarily know that well. So the fact that you can buy one of these as fully assembled and running for about $550, including the GPS option and things like that, I think is amazing. If you're wondering if you should get one or not, go ahead and buy it. You're not going to be able to buy this much longer. If you want to buy one in the future, you're probably going to end up buying it secondhand from another collector or something like that. I don't know how many Jeff has. I don't know when he's projected to sell out or anything like that. But just if you're on the fence, I'm trying to push you towards actually purchasing it. This is a cool little device. At the end of the day, it's a sculpture or something like that. So when I'm at my desk and I'm supposed to be reading my corporate finance textbook, I'm staring at this. When I'm supposed to be reading accounting, I'm mostly just staring at this. Lastly, as a disclaimer, I own Zetalink.biz. I purchased it a while ago. Zetalink.biz is a former website of Ray. He let the registration lapse, and I purchased it so I could point it to TubeClockDB. If you're trying to research his clock and you find Zetalink.biz and takes it to TubeClockDB, that's why. I own the domain name. He does not. He has nothing to do with it anymore. But just as a disclaimer, that's why I own the domain name, and that's where it came from. Anyways, if you have any questions, please leave a note in the reviews, and I will do my best to answer them.